Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellen Cole, and I'm going to be co-hosting tonight along with Majda Gama. Michael, I want to thank you for the beautiful music. And speaking of technical things, I want to thank Henry, who's our technical wizard, working behind the scenes. Tonight's program will feature two very exciting poets, Nancy Miller Gomez and Sahar Muradi. I'll be introducing Nancy, and Majda is introducing Sahar. We encourage you to buy our featured poets' books tonight and to donate to Café Muse to support our literary programs. Links for buying their books and for making a donation will be in the chat. Audience members have been muted. This helps prevent feedback problems and ensures uninterrupted programming. Please bear with us if we do have a technical glitch. During the reading, you may use chat to comment or ask questions that our readers may answer during the Q&A period, moderated by the WordWorks Karen Alanier, if time permits. Our program will last for 1 hour. You won't want to miss our next Café Muse reading, which will be one of our hybrid sessions and take place live and online from the Writers Center in Bethesda, Maryland on Monday, October 6th at 7 p.m. and will feature 4 poets, Bonnie Narazde, Michelle Wolf, as well as Kim Roberts and Michael Gershu. I'm delighted to introduce the first poet of this evening, Nancy Miller Gomez. I wasn't familiar with Nancy's poetry until recently, and I'm so grateful I got this chance to take a deep dive into her work. Nancy's new book, her debut full-length collection, is Inconsolable Objects, published by Yes Yes Books last year. And her chapbook, Punishment, published by Rattle Chapbook Series. She has a JD from the University of San Diego and an MFA from Pacific University. Her work has appeared in Best American Poetry, Best New Poets, Prairie Schooner, Tri-Quarterly, the Alaska Review, the Adroit Journal, Rattle, and in many other journals. Her honors include a special mention from the Pushcart Prize Anthology and fellowships from the Gentile Foundation and the Academy of American Poets Laureate. Nancy co-founded with Ellen Bass an organization that teaches poetry to incarcerated men and women, and it's brought poetry to the Salinas Valley State Prison, the Santa Cruz County Jails, the Juvenile Hall, and as part of Cornell University's Prison Education Program. She's Poet Laureate of Santa Cruz. The Michigan Quarterly Review's Ryan McCartney says Inconsolable Objects is one gasp after another, filled with the most intimate beauties. Jean Yu in the Mama Egg Review writes of Gomez, her relentless artistic balance of musicality and rhythm plays against a backdrop of cognitive dissonance, wound up and ready to explode. And Dorian Lux says, Nancy Miller Gomez writes about the heroic business of being alive in a world that doesn't see or acknowledge our essential aloneness. Her writing is complex and real and strange and beautiful. I can't say how much it moves me. One aspect of Nancy's work that I particularly admire is the startling images she uses in her poems to carry the emotion in her poems, which are so full of emotion. And as a poet myself, I know how hard it is to create those images. In the poem Missing History, she writes, sometimes I feel my grandmother, a canary stilled in my throat, a smolder of story I'm trying to revive. And later in the same poem, she says, my granddaughter singing to herself in wings and birdsong, her bloodline is burning. I was so moved by that poem. I really want to read more to you, but Nancy can do it so much better than I can. So I'm honored to present to you this extraordinary poet, Nancy Miller Gomez.
Oh, wow, Ellen, I'm so moved by your introduction of me that I'm not sure I can read poems after that. Thank you. That was really just it was beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. Now I have to like try to live up to it. Um, so my first book did come out last year, Inconsolable Objects, and I did a little bit of a like, a book tour. I went around reading from it, and I read from it so much that I got sick of it, and I decided I'm never going to read from it again. So but I think Ellen has like convinced me that maybe I'll read a few poems from it. But in the meantime, I kind of want to start with new poems. I think this often happens to debut poets. It's like your book comes out, and then I just stopped writing for the longest time. It's been a really long year of not writing. And I've just sort of gotten back into it. So if you will indulge me, I would like to share with you some brand new baby poems, because I'm trying to overcome my fear of writing again. Um, so uh, you heard it first here. Call me by my metaphor. Call me hothouse flower, rootstock, stumblestone. Call me honey drunk. Call me sad girl from Kansas. But don't call me angel pie or sugar. Don't call me honey bunch. Don't call me love when you mean object of desire. I'm not your plan B. I'm not your bedside book of sighs. I might be the marginalia that runs down both sides of the story, but I'm not the grand finale, and I'm not and will never be what was scrawled on the bathroom wall. I'm not a bouquet of pretty faces. I'm heart arsenal and bristle tongue. I could be the woman who never gets over it. So don't call me your boo or baby. Call me rampage. Call me rogue. Call me the last chance dance. Yes, I might be your missed exit, but I'm not your happiness factory. To you, I might be the road to nowhere, but to me, you're the guy who calls me sweetheart because you can't remember my name. After. This is actually, I haven't been writing, so I haven't been submitting anything, but I did a wonderful reading in Chicago with Simone Monk, and she actually solicited this poem for Zocalo Town Square. So this one has been published, but it's not in my collection. After. I've turned off the TV and radio, bookmarked links to recipes and crossword puzzles. I'm finding a way not to know what is happening. If the earth shakes, I'll embrace it. If the heavens open, I'll welcome the downpour. The rain knows how to carve its stories into the mud. The redwoods bloat before gifting rivers back to the sky. I don't need to know if men are shaking each other's hands for the cameras. I don't need to know the names of the women doing their dirty work. If the children are face up or face down in the photograph, they are still dead. The seeds of native weeds in my yard wait to be scattered. Bones plowed under won't ever dance. In time, more bones will join them. I don't need to hear what a man said at a rally. Soon enough, the floods will wash his name from the dirt. The days, will change colors. History can race me to the grave. My children will bury me. The sky will not grieve. Thank you. Another newbie. Between Salinas and Santa Cruz, on both sides of the highway, people are strewn across the strawberry fields like wind-scattered debris, bent over, then standing, bent over, then standing, but mostly bent over. They could be looking for a lost object or engaged in a religious ritual, bowing to the earth, offering up their baskets of glistening fruit. Further up the 101, machines crawl through the crops like chewing insects, trundling down the rows of Brussels sprouts, each one encircled by a small constellation of human movement, a peripheral blur of colors. Bodies, nonstop, stooping, cutting, carrying crates of vegetables, orbiting each other in the fast, back-breaking choreography of the harvest. This is the fertile valley Steinbeck made famous, wedged between the sun-soaked Gabilon Mountains and the shadowy Santa Lucias. The late afternoon is an angry glare of light so bright it hurts. The day is torrid. Heat boils, heavy and thick. I pass a processional of old school buses lumbering along in the slow lane. They are spray-painted white like elderly virgins, dolled up with fancy names stenciled onto their sides like crude tattoos. Queen of the Valley, Grower's Delight. They are towing their own porta potties and are packed with their cargo of people, farm workers, worn out from a hard, hot day, their faces barely visible beneath protective layers of dust-coated hoods and scarves. From inside the cool air conditioning of my car, I watch a woman lean her forehead against the seat in front of her. She is turned towards me, but her gaze is fixed at some point on the horizon I can't see. I don't see what she sees. Perhaps beyond the fields and waiting crops, a bird is catching an updraft, held against the sky by the breeze from an ocean she knows is over there, somewhere on the other side. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read some poems from this book. And I'll start with the poem because Ellen said she liked it. I'll start with Missing History. So there was a period of time, and still occasionally, I get tired of writing about myself. So I'm a sort of voracious reader. I used to be a voracious reader of the news, as you might have gathered from the second poem I read. I don't read the news very much anymore. I can't bear to. So I would source when I would come across an interesting story or quote or headline, I would put it in my sort of glimmer list of things I wanted to write about. And then I would write to that quote or article. And this is one of those poems. It came out of an article that was in the New York Times. And so the poem begins with an epigraph, which is a quote from the article. This is called Missing History. And the epigraph. Researchers have estimated that women's stories make up just 0.5% of recorded history. The New York Times. I kind of want to say that again, 0.5%. Look in the graveyard. Look under the bed. Look in the woods, in the barn, in the box where my grandmother kept her life's work. After she died, her manuscripts vanished. Look in the mirror. Look in the empty cup. Look in the night where the matriarchs seed your dreams, or in the mud hut where words mix with menstrual blood. Look in the weave of the blanket, the tensed warp of tapestries, the pottery stained with ochre and loss. Sometimes I feel my grandmother, a canary stilled in my throat, a smolder of story I'm trying to revive. In the unsung hum, I hear her lips pressed silent. Look under the leaves and rocks, inside the cage of my ribs. Look in the river. My granddaughter singing to herself in wings and birdsong, her bloodline burning. Look in the fire. That was a fun one. How are we doing? The man working window 11 at the DMV wears a happy face pinned to his name tag as if he's hosting a social event. But even from here, 3 people back, I can see Frank is having a bad day. He keeps tapping the same key, hoping the computer will do something different. Poor Frank, tapping harder and harder, pausing sometimes to stare owl-eyed at a young woman waving her paperwork as if she's trying to reignite a dying fire. Her pretty face has grown ugly in anger. She smacks the counter, demanding to know the problem. Roused from her desk, a grenade-shaped woman drifts over to hover above Frank. She gives him directions in a tight, managerial voice, so unmusical, you'd call it noise, while Frank continues to tap and tap until she commandeers his keyboard, fixes the issue, and walks off, leaving the stamping and stapling to Frank, who hustles with a deference that hurts to watch. Meanwhile, the man in front of me has given up and huffed out of the building. But Frank, I want to lean over the counter into your small, personal space and straighten your reading glasses that have gone askew. Their broken frames hang cockeyed off the thin bridge of your nose like pipe cleaners in a preschool project. I want to batten down that piece of your hair sticking up, except I'm still in a line that isn't moving, and I fear the office will close before I've had a chance to tell you how sorry I am that life has brought you here, to this place where all these people unwind like a frayed rope into the unhappy well of your workdays. But finally, it's my turn, Frank, to look you in the eyes and ask you to process my papers. How hard is it really to notice the way you bunch one corner of your mouth into a half smile or blink at the mention of your name? A name I have carried in my heart for all of these 20 minutes. So when you hand me back my temporary license along with a form that asks, "How are we doing?" I want to believe there is someone watching over us to whom I can respond, "Please, we're not doing well here." The doors to the building have been locked. The office is empty. We are lonely and hurting, and night has just begun. So I'll do 2 more, and I'm going to do something dangerous. I recently read in front of the most people I have ever read in front of. And because I like to challenge myself and also because I'm crazy, I thought, well, I'll do something new. I will recite my poem from memory. And yeah, of course, there's only 750 people to screw up in front of. So why not try this new thing in front of 750 people, right? Anyway, I think I've still got it. So I'm going to try to do it again. I'm going to see if I can make this happen. It's the first poem in my collection. And then I've made a commitment to try to memorize more of my poems because it was kind of fun to do that, you know? But if I screw up, I've got it here. So it'll just be momentary embarrassment. Snapshot. I was a hand grenade of a girl, vacuum packed into a dress that bound my body like a bandage, staunching a wound. My arms were cinched in tourniquets of tulle, my throat choked in a rage of lace. I'd hacked my hair into chaos, kept it ragged and short, kept my fists clenched in the fuselage of my lap. My eyes, two foxholes, no light escaped. My lips stretched across my face like a tripwire. The man with the camera said, "You can do better. Give me a smile." I stretched my mouth into the look I've kept all these years. That's still me in the photo, waiting to pull the pin. So because I want to end with a happy note, because everybody needs happiness, right? Here's a fun little poem. I actually I'm gonna memorize this one next, but I'm not gonna impose that on you. The game. "I love you," I said to the boy. He's 3. "I love you more," he says back. "But I love you most," I say, and wonder how love became a competition. "I love you more than Halloween candy," I say. "I love you more than sky," he shouts. "I love you so much, I must dance around the house all night doing this," and I demonstrate the move, which looks something like pitching a baseball with both hands while shaking my ass. He looks impressed, comes back with, "I love you 50 bonks on the head," and slaps the back of his own noggin again and again to show me what this kind of love looks like. I love you the whole driveway and parking lot. I love you every pothole in New York City. I love you more than A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I love you more than purple, more than gold. I love you more than cat vomit and dog poop. I love you, all the dead people in the cemetery. I love you, eyeballs and bones and rotting skin. And he's looking around wildly for the right thing to say, his eyes scanning the floor, the ceiling, the shelves. And then, "I love you so much, I hate you." We stare at each other across the kitchen. I know what he means. I love you so much, I hate you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Thank you for that reading. Inconsolable Objects is a fantastic book, and the link to buy it has been dropped in our chat. And I thank you for being here to read partly from it. I understand the weariness, and thank you for sharing new work too. That was really wonderful to see your joy and to participate in it. Our next featured poet tonight is a woman I just adore and admire so much, the poet Sahar Muradi, author of Octobers, selected by Naomi Shihab Nye for the Donald Hall Prize for Poetry. Of Octobers, Naomi writes, "I feel I have never read anything quite like this voice before. It's rare and so important." Octobers is a book deeply rooted in the lyric line, in lineage and language. Every word is weighted and held to eye level while looked at from multiple worlds and angles. Dari and English braid together as do countries. We learn to inhabit the in-between place of nations where one is a refugee in diaspora or a toddler rapidly learning an English that her parents do not. And that toddler is, by the end of the book, a proud mother watching her own toddler speak Dari. Aesthetically, the book suggests to me a tapestry that can be admired for the individual strands of stitching, as well as from afar for its beautiful whole pattern. Because the book is a work of lyrical art, rewriting language, landscape, and the poetic line through lengthy singular lines, exquisite couplets and formal poems like Zuhitsu for the new diaspora. Jenny Xi called this approach expansive, vital, and kinetic. I approached the last line of the book not wanting Octobers to end and was gifted this line. The point was to startle me into my existence. The book is an awakening, is recollection, is a new language for its lucky readers. Sahar Muradi is the author of the collection Octobers, which was also a finalist for the National Poetry Series. She's the author of chapbooks Gates, Ask Hafiz, and A Garden Beyond My Hand, as well as co-editor with Zohra Saeed of One Story, 30 Stories, an anthology of contemporary Afghan American literature. Sahar lives in New York City, where she directs the arts education programs at City Lore, and she dearly believes in the bottom of the rice pot. Please welcome Sahar Muradi to Café Muse.
Wow. Thank you immensely, Majda. That similar to Nancy, I feel like yeah, sort of unprepared for that introduction. Wow, this is I just want to I'm just like filled with so much gratitude just in the time we have been here. I just want to say thank you so much to Café Muse for hosting this, for Ellen, Karen, Henry, Majda, my friend who invited me and who I still stand by and say I should be hosting you because Majda has an incredible new book out that everyone should read, which is called In the House of Modern Upbringing for Girls. So I feel just honored that, yeah, in typical Majda style, you have opened the door for me. Thank you. And Nancy, I feel it's funny because when you started by talking about being, like being sick of your work and not writing, I was just with you. I'm like, yes, thank you for voicing what I have also been feeling, which is inability to write and maybe also sort of like, I'm done with that. And then hearing you read, I'm like, all I want to do now is write. It was really powerful to hear you read and restorative. I feel like you bring so much humanity to your work. I mean, you see so much humanity and return it to us. So I just, okay. Beware, I will be a bit chatty between the phones. I'm going to change my order based on having heard you, Nancy, and also just knowing that maybe I do have a friend in the room who may be swept away to the babes in her care. So I'm going to sneak in this poem that is in conversation with Nancy and Dana, perhaps. This is from October's, and then I'm going to also, I would like to share some new work as well. So this is for my daughter Soma. It's called A Language Entirely. I'm thinking of her coming into language as you so beautifully articulated, Majda. A language entirely. She notices the shamal in the trees. We call it dancing. I wonder if I could teach her language entirely in metaphor. This is a leaf yawning to the ground. You have two starfish, right and left. The clouds are playing piano again. She already gets this. Of the neighbor's umbrella on the balcony tilted, she says, "How?" Asleep, folds her hands under her ear, head tilted. To not correct, to allow the pleasure of the construction, of the gesture, how she distills. For giraffe, she runs her hand up her neck. For elephant, 5 fingers swing under her nose. Her economy is expansive, the same single syllable for multitudes. Ma for Mother John, Ma for Most, for Marmite, for Cousin Mateen. We must train our ears to her tongue's subtleties. She builds by repetition, reinforces by rhyme. Soon, Like enters the room. Sound to me like growling bear. Look to me like window. A wedge, approximate. So begins a life of separation. In February, she says plainly under our gasps, grass, trees, and bath like diamonds. Stars, moon, and bed like diamonds. To see one in another is to see one another. We watch her eyes as much as her mouth. Mucher, she corrects me. I like ice cream mucher. The robot lost its eye. No, the robot is winking. Because to say is to see, the power of a tongue accelerating, revving repeatedly, of teeth marking the earth. We listen with the hunger of old eyes. She is now 6.5 and has not stopped talking since her first words, except when she's sleeping. And even then, I'm gonna peel back a little. So much of the book is about sort of being rendered bereft in the face of loss and all kinds of loss and all kinds of life events. So this is a new poem, or poemling, if it were, just this summer, my sister received some terrible news, and we're still trying to encounter the news, to meet it, to understand it. This is called Somewhere Else. The news blows air into our house, clears us of our organs and petty duties. We float through the hollow. My daughter says words, yanks my arms that are attached to my shoulders. Upstairs, my eyes are flooding. She yells at me to stop. How dare we watch Bluey, watch a good father make memories with his children. Her father squeezes my hand through the sheets. It's 5 a.m. the next day or the next. I still haven't heard my sister's voice. She is floating somewhere else. How dare I keep knocking? Everything she knows is somewhere else. Already in the poem, he is absent. I've been in touch with some friends who we were able, through a collective, help evacuate from Afghanistan shortly after the 2021 takeover by the Taliban. And this friend is relocated, is in Omaha, and just thinking about his experience of leaving and arriving, and the ways in which we don't get to choose. We live in this system where we have to make choices, but they're not quite choices. And this is for Nora. It's called In the Dream. In the dream, he chooses his son and his father. In the dream, nights abate. Light resumes its metaphorical elegance. In the dream, Nangarhar arrives in the navel of oranges in Omaha. In the dream, there is no, quote, safe third country, for to be one implies its shadow siblings. In the dream, Canada kneels, prostrates. In the dream, he pens the third act. In the dream, Nasruddin rides his donkey forward, and Orpheus, in looking back, doesn't lose Eurydice, he preserves her in song. My friend's a theater maker, and I hope he may resume that in this lifetime here. I'm also wondering if you can hear my kids crying outside the door. Okay, I'm grateful for these headphones. One more new poem, and then I will turn to October's. This, I read a quote recently. It's from a book I haven't read. I think it's just come out, but this quote really resonated with me. It's from the scholar Hamid Dabashi from his new book, After Savagery. And he writes, quote, "Neither the political nor poetic urges, nor the secular or sacred citations that might come to mind can come to terms with what is happening in Palestine." I really feel that there is nothing enough to convey or reconcile with the magnitude of the horror and the failure of humanity. And yet I think, and I think this is also my understanding of the argument of the book, is that still the need and attempt at writing it at all in whatever way one can is in its own small way an expression of the humanity that's being obliterated. You know, it's like this is called The Swelling for Gaza. How small my hands, how very small the letters on the keyboard in the margins of newsprint. Smaller still are her fingers digging through rock. Smaller his arms clutching the wet sack of her limbs. How many we are in the streets, our bodies in unison, our bodies circling, contesting the dark chamber of language. Larger still is her faith, swelling under fire. Larger yet, his love on the skin of forehead, touching his own soil. Okay, I just checking the time. I wasn't gonna read Zuhitsu for the New Diaspora, but you mentioned it, it is the last poem that I snuck into the book. The manuscript was selected by Naomi, and like that blew my mind to even have one word be read by her, let alone a book. And then I was like, can I sneak this poem in? Because this book took me like more than 10 years to write. And, you know, there's a distance by the timing of these things takes so long. And I felt like I needed to get something in very current. So I'm going to read just maybe this one and one more, so we have time to talk. This is called Zuhitsu for the New Diaspora, and I have two kids. I was pregnant with my first child at the time of the fall of the country, and then when she was born, sorry, it was my second child, a blur, my second child, and he was born during the evacuations. In Cornwallville, thinking of Kabul, the hush of new snow and leafless, Balkh, Bamyan, Herat, Jalalabad with its orange blossoms, necklaced on a thread. The girls had given it to me that spring, now a bookmark. The blue light of winter morning, icicles on red berries. I watched them fall. We drive to keep the baby asleep. Wet firewood, wild turkeys, a ring-necked pheasant, mistaking hunting posts for tree houses, a wooden stag for new life. G wrote, "Your language is home." Each morning I trace my evictions. N finally crosses the border, 85 hours by bus, a wife and 4 children, his press pass buried in his father's yard, Nangarhar, Kandahar, Quetta, Karachi, Peshawar. Goes to Saturn to get to Venus. Dirt roads and forged papers, 2 5-minute piss stops, bribes the size of windows, a car accident, pneumonia in his newborn. He is 31, hair frosted. My memories begin at age 9. Before that, a long white expanse, mute as a rope. Nothing is quiet about small towns with their hateful lawn signs. New York to Florida and back, I come of age along a corridor. Gregory, Linton, Hawthorne, Vanderbilt. Each move cleans the tongue. Circle becomes Sadekal, bald head. All my life trying to name the thing without naming it. Father's laugh rises from a wound. Every year on the day, the tease. Your birth was a curse. The year of my arrival, twinned with the Soviets. It's August. I stroke the taut lampshade of my belly, a black band bisecting it, a flag. Soon my son, his own twinning, the end of an occupation and its harsh exit. Who will I be once the gates open? To have to learn anew the latch, the loop, and how lonesome. I want to be multiple, a hologram, slippery as a foal. In a snow globe shaken violently, 1,000 points of undoing, to be unmoored repeatedly, torn from a soft knit blanket. From this distance, most color is out of reach, just the wide blue gape of disbelief. The witching hour is apparently the baby's effort to process the day's information, a system overloaded. The roar of life through a thimble. Welcome, language laughs back. Opportunity. Who wants to leave, asks Z. Allies. Who wants to be a spore? Sitting by the East River in the sun, trying to recover a new leaf, a stem, some anchoring green in this skeleton season. On the bridge, pigeons, tercets of bubblegum feet mapping an arc. At last, someone comes to salt the path, to scatter and seed, to lengthen the radius from home. Thank you. I will just read, I will close now with, I feel like I would not do justice if I didn't read a poem about my father, which kind of forms the center, the heart of the book. The book traces these losses that I've experienced all in the months of October. And he passed in October 2016. And it's sort of a prose poem, but I'll just read a short section of it. It's called Facsimile, and all you need to know about that is that a therapist once told me that my need to get approval from my father was a facsimile of a meaningful connection. I'm laughing, but obviously it's not funny. Facsimile. It's in 2 voices. My father was an idea from Afghanistan, from Kabul, from Chindawul, home of the Qizilbash, the red-hatted, the crimson-crowned, a balloon in 12 parts, one for each imam. In my mind, I trace your bony cheek, 2 bumps of earlobe. God is as close as the soft of the ear. Photographs erupt, the long space in my eyes. Had I known then, or how to lay my head on the stone, to drop my arms at my side in prayer, had I known how they'd wash his body, or that only the men could carry him, or how to wail like a good woman, how to answer when they said, Zindagi sarat basha, may life keep over you. I rubbed your feet under the sky blue blanket, 6 blankets, the oval of your mouth drying. We took turns, the yellow sponge, your teeth in the styrofoam cup. Wouldn't it have been different if we were not in these ununited states, if family were not marbles scattered, if I hadn't grown up so far from the community, a community, so lacking of a net that I mirrored my father in his interiority, in his unsettledness in his own being? Wouldn't it have been entirely different had we remained in Afghanistan? In so many ways, of course, and yet somehow wouldn't we have lost so much less? Wasn't that what he was always saying, circling the wormhole of his regrets? His regrets coupled with romance, the way exile courts imagination. What could have been, what should have, and shadows the present. On if onlys, he raised a family. You that what? That once, that long, that should forever? You what? You, my, irrelevant all. I keep coming back faithfully to empty. Had he not left Kabul, had he not left New York, had he not worked like a dog, had they not left us long hours to work like dogs, had we spoken right, dressed right, had we not left for school, had we returned home, had we married right, had he not smoked, drank, gambled, faced Qibla so late in life, had we ever faced Qibla? Had he not wished into the vacuum of his own father? Had his father touched him except with the back of his hand? Had he not worked for his father? Had he not worked for him for free? Had he not watched his father bring women to the house? Had he not watched his mother draw them baths and serve them tea? Had he himself, with his beautiful bride, not frantically checked behind the doors of their new home? Had he not left his home to squeeze into the trunk of a Volkswagen in the dead of night? Had he not crossed so many borders to freedom? Had freedom not meant becoming a dog to new masters? Why do we blush before death? It's true. I saw you shy. I'll end there. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing these poems with us. The October's is a book that is very dear to me, and I've read your poetry for so many years now, and it's so deserved. I'm so glad that book is out in the world. I'm also glad that your new poems are being shared and with us especially. Karen, do we have any questions from you that you've thought of?
I would like to talk with our guest readers about language because I feel like there's a certain insistence on language that is in both of our poets tonight that informs us in ways that may be under the surface. So, for example, in Nancy's work, she started with a list poem that had all kinds of interesting sounds and language in it. And I we'll start there. So, Nancy, what do you have to say about the language of your writing and maybe how that informs how you move, into writing?
Interesting question, especially for me, because I think I am inherently narrative first, language second. I am usually guided by some kind of an impulse to tell a story. And you may have noticed that many of my poems are highly narrative because of that. But I also very much pay attention to sound and cadence and rhythms. And I read everything I write as I'm writing it out loud so I can hear it. Um, and I don't, it's not a conscious language choice usually. It's one of those, I feel so grateful when I'm gifted with the right words to try to get at what I'm trying to say, because if I if it didn't just come to me, I wouldn't be able to do it, you know? Yeah.
Well, okay, thank you.
Also,
That is interesting
Hinting and
because
grunting at an answer.
that is very interesting. And because Sahar, you come from a family that obviously speaks, in another language, most likely, Dari, and you have a certain quietness about your um, choice of words and the delivery. It's a very prayerful kind of sound. So you have an interesting way of choosing your words.
Hmm. I really appreciate that impression. Um, so I'm a middle child, and I was, and I say that because I was watching a lot as a young person, just watching, and I was quite shy. And my mom put me in speech class. She thought that's how you learn to get out of your shell. Meanwhile, I was petrified. Um, and when I was in middle school, a math teacher gave me the poems of Langston Hughes, the collected works of Langston Hughes, and that just blew my mind. And I went from like having a lot of difficulty with the language because I came when I was 3, so I had to I learned language anew, but then I fell in love with English, and I just used it as a way to jot down all these observations of my family, of my home life. I would interview my parents and write these things. And it's interesting you say it's quiet, and I think that in that line that I have, like always trying to say the thing without saying it. I just When I discovered poetry in English is when I fell in love with metaphor. Like that metaphor was my life. Nothing was said directly. And in Betty too, words are like there's an indirection that is just extraordinary. It's imagistic. It's gore. There are these plays on words. It's very, and between the two languages, I fell in love with that not saying. And so I think that's where the quietness comes from. And I'll just end by saying, but I do the same thing, Nancy. Like if I am not satisfied with my vocalization of the poem, it goes in the drawer. Like I have to say it. I say it all out loud. And I think my poems actually live better shared or aloud than on the page.
I want to note and kind of speak back to what you just said. 2 lines from your poem that really struck me. The one initially about your daughter learning language, and you said um, something about teaching her language entirely in metaphor, and then a leaf yawning to the ground. And then you went on to like describe everything in metaphor as if we could speak only in metaphors. And I love that so much. And then in another poem, you said, we must teach our ears. We must train our ears. Is that it? We must train our ears to her tongue's subtleties. And I was so gripped by that, the beauty of that, the listening, the attention. Because really, how do we ever come to understand each other? And that leaning in and training your ear to hear what somebody else is saying. I think that's what we do as poets, not only with each other, but to ourselves. It's like we're leaning in, trying to figure out, what is this? How do I describe it? How do I share it with another human? And I just really loved the way you got at that. It's beautiful. Such a
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that this is it. This is our shared, like, this is what we share because it's the same, like bristle tongue, like the bristle tongue, the arsenal heart, like that. Yes, yes. Like you cannot say it a different way. Like that, the seeing tongue, that's what I feel. That's how I felt listening to you. I was actually jotting down all these lines to read back to you. Like, I think. Yeah, it is exactly that the reach to say, but also to give it newness, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you both. We really appreciate hearing about your creativity in both cases, and we always learn something new. Not just from the poetry, but from these little looks inside of the creative mind. So again, thank you so much, and I'm turning it back to Majda. Thank you, Majda.
Thanks, Karen. I always look forward to the Q&A when there's time for it, and it's worth waiting for. And I'm so glad that we have this recorded because Henry, who is a fantastic poet himself, but is also our tech genius, he will edit this for our YouTube channel, and we'll share that around, and people can watch this again as they on demand. It's sad to say that this is ending for tonight. Our featured poets have been Nancy Miller Gomez and Sahar Muradi. I want to thank my co-host, Ellen Cole. I want to thank Karen Alanier, Henry, Michael Davis for the music. Thank our audience. And I want to thank again our poets for being truth tellers, and that's what they've done here tonight. Next month's Café Muse will be back on Monday, okay? Monday, October 6th, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time at the Writers Center in Bethesda, Maryland. It will be a hybrid event, so you can watch it online, but if you come in person, you'll enjoy it. All four of these poets, Bonnie Naradze, Kim Roberts with Michael Gushu, and Michelle Wolf. So hope to see you then. Until Monday, October 6th, please take good care, be safe, have a good night. Bye-bye.